Welcome to College Smart Radio, helping you understand the true cost of college and tackle the runaway costs of financing a college education. College Smart Radio is hosted by Beatrice Schultz, a certified financial planner and founder of Westface College Planning. Now, here's your host for College Smart Radio, Beatrice Schultz.
The staggering costs associated with attending college is enough to discourage any high school graduate or anyone who began a four-year program but never completed it. Tuition has increased across the country, but for the student who's willing to put a little time into finding free money to pay tuition and related costs, the effort is well worth it. On today's College Smart Radio program, my guest personally experienced the hard work and benefits of searching for and obtaining financial aid to finance her college degrees. Plus, today she works as a college financial aid advisor to help others seeking the same dream. She is joining us to share her experience and knowledge from both sides of the financial aid puzzle. Hi, I'm Beatrice Schultz. Welcome to our weekly show, College Smart Radio, where we help you tackle the runaway costs of a college education. Our show is about bringing up-to-date and practical advice to parents and students who are dealing with the cost of a college education. With some private schools costing over $60,000 a year, a UC costing close to $35,000, and a California State University running $25,000, parents need more help than ever. We bring you that help by sharing ways to pay less, tapping into financial aid, and prioritizing your source of funds to make sure you get through the most expensive years of your life. Based on my own education and experience, I share my insights with you week in and week out. I'm a certified financial planner and the owner of the San Carlos-based college planning business, Westface College Planning. I host educational workshops on college planning and consult with parents on a daily basis. And I bring in experts in many areas of the college process. From counselors, financial aid officers, student coaches, parents, and even students, you'll learn firsthand the ins and outs of how to pay for college and survive financially. In addition to our show, you can find lots of powerful information at our website, collegesmartradio.com. We have many articles with up-to-date information on navigating the waters of paying for the runaway costs of college. We have a monthly e-newsletter full of content about college planning. We also have posted a glossary of key terms used in the world of college planning. Terms like total cost of attendance, FAFSA, net price calculator, and so forth. And we have a link to our free community parent workshops and webinars that I host to teach parents about how to pay for college and how the financial aid system really works. Let's get started with today's show. My guest on today's College Smart Radio program is Denata Williams. Williams is a financial aid advisor at Albany State University in Georgia. She advises students on financial aid at ASU based on her own personal experiences of paying for college. Denata attended Darton College for 2 years for an associate's degree, then attended Georgia Southwestern State University for 2 years for her baccalaureate degree. She has a master's in public administration from ASU and is currently pursuing a second master's in business administration. Denata is joining us via phone from Albany, Georgia today. Hi, Denata. Welcome to College Smart Radio.
Hi, Beatrice.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I just listed 3 degrees that you've earned, plus an MBA that you're working on. Let's start the show by talking about how you financed all that education for yourself.
For my associate's degree and my degree at Georgia Southwestern, my bachelor's degree, I received my Hope Scholarship, which is given from students from the state of Georgia with students who have a 3.0 GPA graduating from high school. I also received the Pell Grant, which was provided by the FAFSA, as well as the SCOG, which is provided through the FAFSA as well, which is the Supplemental Opportunity Grant. I also used my work study funds to help me purchase books and other things that I needed for school.
Well, thanks for sharing, because I think there's a lot of people who listen in on the show and they're like, I don't know that does this financial aid really work, and is there really free money available? Because many people think it's just going to be loans. So if we kind of go through your education, one of the things you started at Darton College, and some of our listeners may be not familiar with that because it's a community college, and for your associate's degree, you were able to live at home and commute to college every day. Is that correct?
That is correct. Attending community college, I was able to pay less for my basic courses. The classes were smaller. The students get more individualized attention, and you can, build on friendships as well as make connections when you move on to your next career choice, or as I say, your next school that you're about to attend.
The next school you're about to attend. And we here in the Bay Area, we have many community colleges that are available, that offer all those same services, and that people can live at home and go to the community college. So I love that was part of your first process, but there's still an expense. And today, at least here locally, it's about $800 for tuition. Maybe you're spending $1,000, $1,500 for books, fees, maybe some other expenses, and you aren't able to work a full-time job. So that Pell Grant, today that Pell Grant is available for students for community college as well as for four-year college. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And in Georgia, you have a Hope Grant. And is that still available in Georgia? I don't think that's available for California residents.
The Hope Scholarship is only available to Georgia residents, but I do encourage students to also check with their state scholarships, because some states do provide scholarships to graduating high school students that are fresh out of high school that have a certain GPA that meet the requirements that could use those funds to pay for college.
Absolutely. In California, we have the Cal Grant, and you need I'm not sure about the GPA requirements for sure. Maybe 3.0 also is the minimum. And it's not available at the community college, but if you qualify for it when you graduate from your high school, you can still qualify for that Cal Grant when you transfer as a junior to your baccalaureate degree. The Cal Grant's quite generous, and it may offer $5,000 or $6,000 for a state school, so you don't need that much money in the community college, but it's great for the state colleges or any college in California, actually. So those are great resources. So then you you got your associate's degree at Darton College, and what did you get your degree in?
From Darton College, I got in business administration from my associate's degree in business administration.
Okay, and then you went to Georgia Southwestern State University, and did you continue to live at home, or is that further away from home where you went to do your bachelor's?
Georgia Southwestern is located in Americus, Georgia, and it's about maybe like 40, 50 miles away from Albany, Georgia. I did stay on campus at that time to help me be close to the institution, as well as be able to get to my classes on time, as well as having a more stable study area, as far as not having to travel back and forth from Albany to Americus every day. It was better, basically, for me to stay on campus there.
And so you did have to pay to be on campus, because you paid more than if you were living at home, because you had to find a bed there. So when you went on to do your bachelor's degree, or the last 2 years of your degree, you were qualified for the government grants that were available also, and then you also did some of your own searching for personal grants at that time?
Yes, I did. They had a scholarship at Georgia Southwestern that was funded through the Rosalind Carter Center that provided to students who were transferring from two-year institutions into the four-year institutions. You had to have a 3.0 GPA in order to receive the scholarship, and I applied and I qualified for it, and I qualified for it for the 2 years that I stayed at Georgia Southwestern.
And was that something you had to apply for outside of the FAFSA and go directly to the Rosalind Carter Center Foundation to apply, or was that done through the FAFSA?
Actually, I had to apply directly to the foundation. They had their own application process that I went through, and they made sure that I meet the qualifications to have the scholarship.
And some of our listeners who aren't sure about how to find these private scholarships, how did you identify that Rosalind Carter scholarship? I'm
a stickler for the internet. So I love to research, and what I did was, because I knew I wanted to go to Georgia Southwestern, I went onto their website, and usually the financial aid portion of the website really lists the scholarships and grants. Albany State University does have a section in our financial aid website, which we have scholarships and grants that the institution that offers the student if they qualify. So I suggest that students, if you choose your institution, go ahead on and go on their website and research what institutional scholarships they are providing to students to see if you qualify.
Great. And there is more and more private scholarships now than there were 10 years ago or 8 years ago when you were looking into this process. Yes. It can be overwhelming, but it's worth doing the research if you can get 500, 1,000. And for the Rosalind Carter Center, was that just for 1 year, or could you reapply and get multiple years of that scholarship?
You could reapply, and you can get the scholarship for multiple years that you're there.
And so you needed to keep a GPA for each of the years in order to qualify the next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, good for you. That's awesome. And so your family wasn't able to offer you financial support to go to college, and how many loans did you have when you got to the end of your bachelor's degree?
Only had one because the Hope Scholarship in Georgia only pays for 127 hours, and I was an hour over, so I had to take out a very small loan to help pay for those expenses, and that was the last semester of my senior year that I had to take out that loan. I had my mom and my dad. They actually paid for summer school for me to go because I was so a stickler for not taking out the loans. But as an encouragement to my students, if they are interested in taking out a loan to help pay for the cost of school, I do suggest that they look into getting the subsidized loan. The subsidized loan is a loan where the government pays the interest on the loan while they're in school throughout their 6 months grace period, and as well throughout any deferments the student placed the loan in.
Yeah, so the subsidized loans are going to be the most preferred loans. Now, when you graduate or you're no longer a full-time student, you do have to pay back those loans, but we definitely want to identify if you're going to take loans, really think about it. I liked your attitude of taking summer school and getting a little bit of money from your mom and dad if you could to help you out. So when I've got some listeners here, and we've talked a little bit about your education, we haven't really talked about what you're doing today, which is that you're a financial aid advisor in the university. So from that perspective, what's the kind of the biggest issues you see, or the number one piece of advice that you give to students that you're talking to?
I always tell them that it's okay to research different areas as far as going to different websites such as blackcollegedollars.org as well as scholarships.com that they can go to find different scholarships. And I always tell them it's never too early to start. I always tell them to start at the beginning, especially students that are coming out of high school. I tell the juniors to go ahead on and start researching some of the scholarships so you can familiarize yourself with the requirements so you can build yourself up throughout that time to apply for those scholarships, because loans are not the only option. I tell all of my students that.
Well, the message, loan are not the only option, and we're going to come right back. But if you've just joined us, my guest on today's College Smart Radio program is Ms. Denata Williams. She's a financial aid advisor at ASU, and she has, not only did she use financial aid to pay for her college degrees, but she is advising others on how to do it. We'll be right back on College Smart Radio.
For more information on today's topic, visit collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. College Smart Radio continues in moments on AM 1220 KDOW. Contact Beatrice Schultz at collegesmartradio.com or call 650-587-1559. Now back to College Smart Radio with your host Beatrice Schultz on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to College Smart Radio, where we help you tackle the runaway costs of college. I'm Beatrice Schultz. We all know that college is expensive and will most likely be some of the most costly years for a family. Understanding how to navigate the college costs is a smart thing to know. To help families be on this radio show, I host community workshops live and via webinar several times a month that explain the costs of various colleges, how the financial aid system works, and things to consider to prepare yourself for this tremendous expense. To learn more and reserve your seat, go to my website, collegesmartradio.com. If you've just joined us, I've been talking with my guest, Denata Williams. Denata is a financial aid advisor at Albany State University, and she financed her education with financial aid, and she advises other students about how they can use a financial aid system to help pay for college, especially those students who have families who can't afford to pay for the college on their own and may make the wrong choice to not go to college because they think they can't afford it. Denata, before we left, we talked a little bit about your community college degree and your baccalaureate degree or your bachelor's degree, but I wanted, before we move on to your role as a financial aid advisor, tell us a little bit about how you've also used financial aid to fund your master's degree.
How I funded my master's degree, because I work at Albany State University, the university system in Georgia, they provide a tuition assistance program which helped me pay for my master's degree in public administration, and I actually just received my MBA, Master's in Business Administration, this past Saturday.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So when you say tuition assistance, does that mean that that as your employer or the university actually pays or loans you money for the tuition?
Actually, they actually pay for my tuition. They pay for the cost of the actual courses. They pay up to 9 credit hours per semester, just as long as you're pursuing a degree. They pay for the tuition, the fees that are applied to the account, the number of hours that you have signed up for as well.
Well, it's very powerful, and for those who may not be working for the university that they're going to college with, though, many employers, or some employers, I shouldn't say many, I guess, do offer tuition assistance programs, so it's really valuable to know about your employer, or if you're a student, your parents' employers may be able to help you get a little bit of money or even have private scholarships for college. So now I'm going to ask you to put on a new hat, put on your financial aid advisor hat,
okay.
And so when you talk about advice to students, or when students are kind of walking into your office, what do you hear about students, or what's kind of your message? How should students be thinking about how they should be either communicating with financial aid office or going through the process, or how do you guide someone who comes in and says, I don't know what I need to do, but I think maybe I could qualify for financial aid?
The first thing when my students come in the office, I make sure that they have completed their FAFSA, which the FAFSA is always available after January 1 of each year. The FAFSA does have a new tool for the students to load their parents' information, such as their tax information, onto the FAFSA. I also ask them about building a relationship with them, as far as asking them a little bit about themselves, just to make them comfortable, because applying for financial aid can be scary when you just now jumping into it, especially for the parents, because the parents are more scared because their sons or daughters are now first-time students coming in, and they're trying to get them settled, and they're moving away from home. And I try to do my best to, ease the parents' mind and let them know everything that I know about financial aid, personally and professionally.
So how often is it parents you're talking to versus students you're talking to? I often find that what I see in my practice is some of the wealthier families where the parents are paying a big amount of the parents are taking on such a role that someone's a bigger role than I would think they need to, but it's most often the kids who really need the money that sometimes their parents is so unknown to them that they aren't as involved. Did you see that same thing, or do you tend to meet with both of them?
I tend to. It's a little both. Some students, because their parents are not able to help them pay for college, they tend not to want to, I don't want to say burden, but, worry them about not having enough money to come to school, or not being able to pay for the books that they need. So I do see a little bit of both, but most of the time it's more the students that cannot afford the actual rising cost of tuition of school
that are coming to you. So when students come in, or you see students, or you hear examples of students taking out big loans, you kind of worry that they're taking out too much. I mean, do you find sometimes you work a little bit as a counselor to try to encourage them not to live beyond their means?
Yes, I do that almost every day, Beatrice. I tell my students that do not borrow no more than you actually need. I understand that you may need some necessities or other things that you may need, but borrow responsibly, because at the end, once you get that degree and walk across the stage, your loans go back into repayment 6 months, and you got to be able to pay the loans back once you graduate. So I tell them to borrow very, very responsibly.
Yeah, I really worry about that. Loans are so readily available, unfortunately, because even private or even loans just through a local bank, they give often student loans more, as long as you've got a cosigner. But definitely the FAFSA, the Stafford loans, and even those Parent Plus loans are readily available. So the message, and I hear it loud and clear by your choices, because you took some time off, isn't that correct, in between your degrees, to make sure that you had some money in your pocket before you versus taking on loans to go to school?
Yes, I did. My main focus was to find a job that would help me pay for school, to get the extra degrees and the extra education and skills that I wanted to obtain, so I wouldn't go into too much financial debt.
It's very powerful. My motto is live like a student when you're a student, so you don't have to live like a student when you are no longer a student.
Agree.
Too many students are living a pretty nice life in college, and then they graduate with all this debt, and if they really are going to pay it back, there's no way that they're going to be able to live a good life if they've got a lot of student debt. So at Albany State University, do you have any idea what's the average debt that students are graduating with?
No, I don't currently have those numbers right now.
Across the U.S., I think the number's pretty high. It's like $26,000, and they say that it's growing every year. And if you think about someone who graduates, and well, you would know, just feel the pain yourself, or you see what you might see with your students. It's a big number. Now, it's nice that Albany is a state university. For Georgia students, it's not excessively expensive, but still kind of. I mean, if you're out of state, trying to go to college, or even if you're going to state college in California, to come up with $20,000 a year is a big deal. And that kind of takes us back to that discussion about really thinking about community college and making sure you don't borrow too much money. So after the subsidized loan, we talked about the subsidized loan being the best loans. If you do have families that come in, they really do need money to borrow. Do you have any advice for private loans? Or, well, first you would go, I assume, to the unsubsidized Stafford loan that you would recommend to students?
Yes, that's the next step that I usually suggest after the student has borrowed the max that they can receive in the subsidized loan. And once they receive the amount, if they're a dependent student, their parent can apply for a Parent Plus loan if they choose to do so to help with the cost of tuition.
Right, and those Parent Plus loans are a little higher interest, but they are available up to the cost of attendance. You still want to be very careful. So let's talk, what does it mean, a student reimbursement?
Student reimbursement, the term that our students use is called a refund, which means that after their tuition, housing, and other costs for attending the semester are taken out, the funds that are left over, the school has to refund it to the students. And the students, I suggest to my students that if you plan on attending maybe summer school, save some of that money so you don't have to come back and borrow more. You already have that money available. Or you could choose to come into the office and cancel part of it. And when summer school starts, you can request it back if you feel as though you need that money to be ready, available at the time, if you are unable to save the money until summer.
Very, very valuable information. Many families don't realize that if part of that financial aid you can qualify for can go towards your housing, and if you aren't living on campus, that might be money that's reimbursed to you, even though it's part of your student aid. And that's a big lesson where I just hate it when I hear about students that don't take that seriously and end up spending that money on little bonuses throughout the year and then realizing they need to borrow more money later.
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about building relationships with your families. Is that common? I mean, do you recommend to students when you're ready and you've made your choice of where to go to college to be calling the financial aid department at that college and really build up a relationship?
Well, I know some colleges are pretty huge, and some of them that cannot have that one-on-one connection. Here at Albany State, we try to establish that real good customer service and establish relationships with our students, because the feeling of seeing them, actually this past Saturday, some of my students go across the stage really lift my spirits and my heart to know that I was able to step in and help them and guide them, because today I have some come up to me when I'm at the mall getting some gas. Ms. Williams, I really do appreciate you. You really was an encouragement to me, and I really do thank you for all of the work and the endless nights that you stayed late at work to help process my aid.
I think that's such a wonderful message, and a wonderful message that you've found a career that's a fit for you, whether it's your long-term career or a shorter-term career for you, that you get the satisfaction yourself, and those students also get that wonderful satisfaction. So thank you so much for joining us on College Smart Radio. A blog that Denata contributed is available on our website, College Smart Radio, with a link to Albany State University also. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you.
Don't forget that the FAFSA is available in January of every year, and so you want to make sure that even if your taxes aren't prepared, you should complete that FAFSA as soon as possible and make sure you don't wait until you file your taxes. In some cases, it could be past the deadline for your college. Well, that wraps up another weekly show of College Smart Radio. We hope you picked up some new information today that helps you figure out ways to manage the runaway costs of college. You can hear us each week here on KDOW 1220 AM, Saturdays at 3 p.m. We promise to bring you up-to-date information from the front lines of helping parents deal with the most expensive years of their lives. For a link to a podcast of this show and our prior weekly shows, go to our website, collegesmartradio.com. In addition to the podcast, you'll also find a schedule of our upcoming shows. Make sure you print out or bring up on your tablet our glossary of college planning terms for reference during our future shows. It's a complicated topic to navigate, and without knowing the terms, it's easy to get lost. Also plan on joining us at one of our upcoming Westface College Planning workshops and webinars. You can do so from the show's website, collegesmartradio.com. This is Beatrice Schultz. Thanks for tuning into College Smart Radio. We look forward to sharing more helpful information with you next week.
You've been listening to College Smart Radio with certified financial planner Beatrice Schultz. If you have questions on today's topic, log on to collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1559. That's 650-587-1559. And join us next week at this time for another edition of College Smart Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.